Hello folks, Charlie Gipple coming to you from gloomy, dark Des Moines, Iowa. It's dark, it's rainy outside, and around November, December, when it looks like this outside, not snow, you can do stuff in snow, but with rain, when it's 40 degrees at the same time, you can't do anything except for read. So this morning I was reading, and I was reading about the Great Bond Massacre that happened in 1994. And could 2019, 2020 be a repeat of that? Because if interest rates go up, many of us know what happens to the bond values that we currently have. But I was reading about this. What the article was, it's irrelevant. But as I was reading this morning, my memory was jogged to a conversation I had with my wife about a year ago. So this conversation was preempted, so to speak, by a conversation I was having on the phone that she overheard me have with a business colleague. A year ago or so, I was on the phone with a business colleague and I was talking about bonds and the fact that FINRA cites FINRA financial capabilities in the United States. If you Google this, you'll find that it's an annual study, measures effectively the financial literacy of the consumers in the United States. But I was citing this on the phone that only 28% of consumers know that when interest rates go up, that the value of their bonds, there's an inverse relationship, right? The value of their bond holdings decreases. I got off the phone, again, this was a year ago, and my wife says to me, and by the way, my wife is an extremely intelligent lady. It's just that this financial stuff, she doesn't know how bonds work. She doesn't know how the stock market works. She doesn't know how annuities work. She doesn't even know what I do. Heck, I don't even know what I do half the time, right? So she asked me, she says, yeah, I heard you say that, our bond holdings, Charlie. I'm like, well, I wasn't referring to ours personally, but I know what she was thinking in her head. She says, no, but our bond holder, we have bonds, right? I said, yeah, we do. She goes, so you mean to tell me that when interest rates increase, which we're in a low interest rate environment today, right? I said, well, yeah, as I said on the phone. She goes, so when that increases, the value of our bonds, they decrease, right? I go, yeah. She goes, why? I said, well, because of course there's an inverse relationship between interest rates and the price of bonds. She goes, but why? And I thought about it and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty darn ambiguous. That's pretty darn, how do you explain this to somebody? So I winged it and I explained it to her. Somehow I came up with this, which I thought was pretty good if I say so myself. I said, all right, so Noelle, there are two types of bonds out there. There are U bonds, and there are new bonds. I winged it. I don't know how I did this, but I think it makes sense, and maybe this can help you. The U bonds are the bonds that you currently own, right? Let's say you bought these bonds 5 years ago. Let's say that this bond, this 10-year treasury bond, is paying, say, $5,000 per year. So one of the main components of value of owning a bond is you get interest, a coupon payment, whether it's semi-annual or annual, it doesn't matter. This bond that you own that you bought 5 years ago, it's going to pay you $5,000 per year. Let's say because of the interest rate environment, because we've been in a decreasing interest rate environment, that those currently issued today, new bonds being issued, not that you own this bond, but let's say today 10-year treasury bonds were being issued at, say, $3,000 per year interest or a coupon payment. So supply and demand, which pretty much everybody understands, supply and demand says, quite simply, out there in the secondary market when people are wanting to buy bonds, people are wanting to sell bonds. Noelle, my wife, has a bond that she would be looking to sell if she were to retire today, right? Well, today, because new bonds are paying $3,000, but the old bonds, i.e. that my wife owns, is paying $5,000, supply and demand says which bond is going to be the most valuable, thus, which bond is going to be able to be sold effectively at a premium. That's my wife's bond, right? Congratulations, Noelle. You've been in a decreasing interest rate environment. You've held that bond. That's a good place to be. This has been the place that we've been in for 37 years. 1981, 10-year treasury 15.84%. Today, 10-year treasury around 3%, 3.01% I think I saw yesterday. Congratulations, Noelle. This is the environment that you're in that allows for you, when you sell your bond, to sell it at a premium, right? That's a good thing. To sell it at a premium when you're the seller, that's a good thing. Conversely, however, what if this was flip-flopped? What if that U bond, the U bond that you bought 5 years ago, Noelle, was paying you that $5,000. But because the interest rate environment has increased, which from 3% on the 10-year treasury, many believe that it can't go anywhere but up. Yes, it's been as low as what, mid ones or something like that on the 10-year, but I think we all agree that interest rates are probably going to go up. So your U bond that you bought 5 years ago was $5,000, but new bonds, because the interest rate environment has been such that new bonds are paying, say, $7,000 per year. Well, supply and demand out there says that investors that currently have bonds like yours, are they as attracted to those bonds as they are the new bonds? No, they aren't. Therefore, supply and demand says that from which of these two types of bonds is the demand going to flee from to go into the other type of bond? Well, demand is going to flee from the $5,000 bonds to these types of bonds, right? And that means when somebody is looking to sell their bonds or looking for, when market forces are being driven elsewhere, what does that mean to the price of your current holdings, to your current bond? It means a decrease in price, right? So heaven forbid, should you have to retire, say, 5 years from now, after you bought this bond, interest rates have increased, what does that mean? It means that you would actually, or can very likely, with treasury bonds, yes, it's mostly about interest rates, but with corporate bonds, there's more to it, right? The company could get healthier and therefore market forces, you know, that they can actually drive the price up versus, I don't want to complicate it. Looking straight just at interest rates and 10-year treasury type bonds, that tells you that if interest rates increase, you're likely going to experience a loss on that portfolio of bonds that you otherwise thought was safe at one point in time. This is the risk that we as an economy, that we as retirement savers face with bonds. And again, only 28% of consumers actually know about this inverse relationship. Hope this helps. Have a good day.